What would you do if you saw a waitress insult a black veteran right to his face just because of his skin color? And what if I told you the restaurant owner, a black man himself, was quietly watching everything go down? The twist here: he didn't stay silent. What happened next completely shocked the world. This story isn't just about another incident of racism. It's about what happens when a man refuses to let injustice slide. A white waitress at a busy restaurant humiliates a black veteran with racist slurs, thinking she can get away with it. But there's a catch she doesn't see coming. The restaurant owner, a black man who's fought for everything he has, is sitting just a few feet away, watching it all unfold. This isn't just about a confrontation between two people. It's about a decision that changes everything and sends a message to everyone who was there. What happens next will challenge everything you think you know about standing up for what's right. The moment the veteran steps into the restaurant, he probably never imagined how his day would turn out. He's just a man looking for a quiet meal, a chance to relax, maybe catch up with his thoughts. But what happens next is far from a peaceful moment. A waitress, someone who's supposed to be serving customers with respect, decides to take a jab at him purely because of his skin color. Her words are sharp and malicious, designed to belittle and humiliate him. This wasn't a simple mistake or an awkward encounter. It was an intentional attack. And the worst part? It's not the first time she's done this. The veteran, though clearly hurt by the insult, tries to keep his cool. He's been through enough in his life, not just as a soldier, but as a black man in a world that often sees his skin color before the person he truly is. He knows how to deal with racism, how to navigate situations where people look down on him or assume things based on stereotypes. But this moment is different. This isn't just some stranger making a comment on the street or a misguided glance at the grocery store. This is someone in a position of power, a waitress who should be showing respect, not spreading hatred. The words she uses are far from subtle. "What do you want, Grandpa? You need help with that order? Or maybe you should be at a table with your own kind," she sneers. The veteran, taken aback by the comment, tries to ignore it at first. He doesn't want to cause a scene. He doesn't want to make a fuss over someone who clearly has no idea what they're talking about. But the damage has already been done. Her words sting, not just because of the disrespect, but because of the history they represent. It's a slap in the face to everything he's fought for. It's a reminder that no matter how much progress is made, people still hold on to outdated prejudices. For a moment, the veteran sits there, wondering what to do. He knows he could speak up, confront her, and let her know exactly how wrong she is. But there's something holding him back. He's been down that road before, the moments where speaking out only makes things worse. The conversations that end up with him being labeled the angry black man. He doesn't want to add fuel to the fire. He just wants to eat in peace. But the challenge here is bigger than just his desire to avoid confrontation. It's the realization that this isn't just about him anymore. It's about everyone who has ever been on the receiving end of this kind of treatment. It's about the people who don't have the same opportunities, the same voice to stand up for themselves. As the waitress continues, Oblivious to the weight of her words, the situation becomes increasingly uncomfortable. Other diners in the restaurant notice, but no one speaks up. There's an invisible wall of discomfort that hangs in the air. Everyone's aware of what's happening, but no one seems willing to intervene. Maybe they're too afraid to say something. Maybe they don't want to get involved. But one thing is clear. No one is standing up for the veteran. He's alone in this moment, facing a woman who is actively choosing to treat him as less than human. And then, just as the situation is about to escalate, the veteran notices something that changes everything. The restaurant owner, who has been sitting quietly in a corner booth, is watching the whole thing unfold. He's seen the waitress's actions, and he's seen the look on the veteran's face. But for now, he remains silent, unsure of what to do. This is the critical moment, the moment where a decision has to be made. Should the owner step in, risking his position and reputation to defend the veteran? Should he stay silent, letting the waitress continue her disrespectful behavior? Or even worse, letting the veteran handle it on his own? The challenge here isn't just the incident itself, it's the response to it. The veteran is faced with a decision. Does he call out the waitress and make a scene, or does he let it go, maintaining his dignity but also allowing the injustice to persist? For the restaurant owner, the challenge is equally complex. Does he remain neutral, or does he take a stand and risk challenging the very person who works for him? His actions will either support or silence the veteran, and depending on what he chooses to do next, it could change everything for them both. As the tension rises between the waitress and the veteran, the scene shifts. The veteran, despite his anger bubbling beneath the surface, chooses to remain silent, still holding on to a shred of patience. He's been in situations like this before, growing up in a world where people like him are often made to feel inferior. He's learned the hard way that confrontation doesn't always lead to justice. Sometimes it leads to being dismissed, misunderstood, or worse, becoming a target. His decision to stay silent isn't just about avoiding conflict. It's about the toll of constantly fighting battles that never seem to end. The emotional weight of carrying these insults for years starts to build. This one comment from the waitress might seem small to her, but to him, it's just another example of how society has failed to change. But as he sits there, biting his tongue, he can't ignore the eyes of the other patrons in the restaurant. People who are clearly uncomfortable, unsure of how to react. Some glance at him, some glance at the waitress, but none speak up. They're just bystanders, watching as this ugly moment plays out. It's the kind of silence that allows bigotry to thrive. In that silence, the veteran feels more alone than ever. He realizes that the people around him aren't going to help him. They may feel bad for him, but no one is willing to do anything. The world feels so small in that moment, with no one offering the support he needs. But then, he remembers the restaurant owner. He doesn't know much about him, but there's something different about the way he carries himself. The owner isn't just any person, he's someone who knows what it's like to fight for something, to sacrifice. If anyone could understand what the veteran is going through, it's him. As the veteran waits for anything to change, the waitress continues her assault. She's so wrapped up in her own petty power trip that she doesn't realize how far she's gone. The veteran can see it in her eyes. She feels in control, like she's the one who has the upper hand. Maybe she doesn't even see the veteran as a person. Maybe to her, he's just another black man who doesn't deserve the same respect as anyone else in the restaurant. What she doesn't know, though, is that she's about to make a fatal mistake. The veteran, no longer able to hold back his frustration, stands up. The action itself doesn't speak volumes. He's simply had enough. But the power shift is undeniable. The waitress seems to shrink under his gaze, suddenly aware that the situation is spiraling beyond her control. It's in that moment, the exact second, when the veteran's feet hit the ground and he starts walking toward the counter, that the restaurant owner notices. He's been quietly watching the whole time, but now his attention is fixed on what's happening. The owner is a man of stature. He's no stranger to struggle or adversity. He's been building his business from the ground up, and in the process, he's had to fight for his place in a world that constantly challenges people like him. His restaurant isn't just a business to him. It's a symbol of what he's overcome. The injustice in front of him hits him differently than it would hit anyone else. This isn't just a simple customer complaint. It's personal. He knows what the veteran is experiencing. He knows the sting of being treated like less than human because of the color of his skin. The owner has seen moments like this before: silent racism, the kind that lurks beneath the surface, disguised in subtle actions and microaggressions. He's watched the way his staff interacts with different customers, always paying close attention. But this moment is different. The veteran is no longer just a witness to discrimination, he's the target. And for the first time, the owner feels a powerful urge to do something. The question isn't whether he should act, but what action will make the most impact. It's a choice that could change everything for him, for the veteran, and even for the waitress, who has no idea what she's about to face. The air in the restaurant seems to thicken with tension. People are watching, waiting for someone to take a stand. No one says anything, but the unease is palpable. It's clear that something has to happen here. The veteran is standing tall now, his shoulders squared, but he isn't looking for a fight. He's simply tired of being dehumanized. His silence has been broken, but it hasn't come from anger. It's the weight of everything that's been ignored, dismissed, and brushed aside for too long. And as he steps forward, it's clear that the only thing left to decide is how the owner will handle this. Will he step in and make a difference? Or will he let the world turn a blind eye once again? The moment everything shifts comes with a quiet but undeniable power. The veteran stands up, and for a second, the whole restaurant seems to hold its breath. He doesn't shout, doesn't make a scene, but the weight of his presence fills the space around him. People glance over, sensing the change in the atmosphere, and the waitress, still standing behind the counter, seems momentarily thrown off. She's used to being in control, used to throwing her insults with no real consequence. She's never had to deal with someone like this. The veteran's movements are slow, calculated. It's as if he's done this before standing up to those who look at him with hate, those who think they can tear him down just because of the color of his skin. But this time, It's different. This isn't just another encounter with ignorance. This is the tipping point. He's tired of letting things slide, tired of watching others remain silent when they should speak out. He's seen too much and fought too hard to let this kind of disrespect go unchallenged. The room is quiet now, almost as if the whole world has paused. The veteran walks slowly toward the waitress, and as he gets closer, the tension builds. Every step he takes is measured, deliberate, and it only serves to amplify the moment. The waitress watches him approach, her smug expression faltering slightly. She can sense something is different. Her grip on the counter tightens, but she stands her ground, still convinced she has the upper hand. When he finally reaches the counter, the veteran doesn't yell. He doesn't need to. His voice is calm, steady, but it's packed with the weight of years of silence and injustice. "I don't know what you think you're doing," he says, his voice quiet but firm. "But you're not going to treat me like that. Not today." The words hang in the air, sharp, precise, and as soon as they leave his mouth, they hit her like a punch. The waitress, caught off guard, stumbles for a moment. She's not used to being confronted like this. She's used to making jokes at others' expense, feeling invincible behind her apron and her counter. But this time, there's no laughing, no scoffing, just a man standing in front of her, demanding respect. The power dynamic has completely shifted. At first, she tries to backpedal, looking for a way to deflect, maybe a snide remark or a joke. But the veteran isn't having it. He stands there, unwavering, not giving her an inch. For the first time, the power is in his hands. The room holds its breath, waiting to see how she'll respond. But she doesn't know how to respond, not to this. This isn't just another man she can belittle and brush off. This is someone who has lived through battles she can't even begin to comprehend. Someone who isn't afraid to stand up for himself when it matters most. And then, as if on cue, the unexpected happens. From the back of the room, the restaurant owner, who has been silently watching the exchange, stands up. He's seen enough. The veteran's words, his presence, the way he stood up against the waitress, it's all too familiar. The owner knows exactly what this moment means. It's a defining moment, a chance to make it right, to show that there are people who won't let racism go unchecked, even in a place that should be welcoming to everyone. The owner steps forward, his eyes locked on the waitress. He doesn't say a word at first. He doesn't need to. The atmosphere in the room shifts again, as if the weight of his presence is enough to make a statement. The veteran is still standing tall, and now the restaurant owner is right there with him, silently backing him up. The waitress looks from one man to the other, and for the first time, her confidence cracks. She realizes that she has no allies here, no one to protect her or her actions. The tension in the room is at a breaking point. The owner walks up to the counter, standing between the veteran and the waitress. He doesn't yell, doesn't make a scene, but the message is clear. "This is not how we treat people here," he says, his voice firm but calm. "Not anyone, not ever." The waitress's face flushes, a mix of embarrassment and fear creeping in. She stammers for a moment, unsure of what to say. But there's nothing she can say. The room is silent, waiting for her to understand that the consequences of her actions are far bigger than she ever anticipated. The owner looks at her one last time, a silent command for her to walk away, to understand that her actions won't be tolerated any longer. And with that, the balance of power has shifted completely. The waitress, no longer in control, retreats. The veteran, his dignity intact, stands proud. He hasn't just confronted racism, he's been heard. And most importantly, the owner has made it clear that there is no place for that kind of hate in his restaurant. The veteran's quiet strength, combined with the owner's decisive action, has sent a message that will echo far beyond this one moment. This is a turning point, not just for the veteran, but for everyone in that room. In the end, what started as a quiet moment of disrespect transforms into a powerful statement. The veteran, who could have let the insult slide like so many others, stood tall and confronted the racism he faced head-on. His decision to speak up, not with anger, but with quiet strength, made all the difference. It's a reminder that sometimes silence isn't the answer. It's the courage to stand firm, to speak your truth, and demand respect. The waitress, realizing she's no longer in control, retreats. But the real victory here isn't her embarrassment. It's the message that was sent. The restaurant owner, recognizing the injustice, didn't hesitate to stand beside the veteran and show that such behavior won't be tolerated. This moment wasn't just about one incident. It was a shift in power. It's about showing that standing up for what's right can make a difference. Never forget, silence is never the answer. If you want to hear more stories that will leave you speechless, make sure you hit that subscribe button.